Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'd like to begin by thanking my colleague Gillian Martin for bringing this important debate to the Chamber on this, as I understand it, Safer Internet Day 2018. As my colleague Ruth Maguire made the point, this is a huge issue, and I would note the contributions we've had so far, which are very much focused on the dangers of image sharing. So I intend to focus my remarks on some of the broader issues I would suggest are pertinent to cyber-resilience. But before doing so, I would just like to echo the point that I think in terms of actually the key is empowering young people, and it's working with young people. And that can start at home. I almost think that in terms of teaching the responsible use of the internet should be as much a role of a parent or a caregiver as, for example, advising a child of the dangers of road traffic or the railways or the dangers of water, of electricity. The things that I recall from my childhood is just the basic skills that you learn about how to stay safe in the world, and we have to adapt for the world that we're in now, where the internet is so pervasive and is only going to become more so. And I would say that a balanced approach is required, because just as when we're bringing up kids, we can't insulate them and wrap them in cotton wool and isolate them from the world. We can't put them in a tower as much as I'm sure every parent wants to. We equally with the internet, we can't cut children off from the internet, we can't cut them off from use, because it's such a vital skill and it's such a necessary skill for the jobs of the future. It's important that this generation of digitally native people are allowed to develop these skills naturally. So I think the balanced approach is correct, and I would just note some of the excellent resources that are out there: the UK Safer Internet Centre Education Pack for parents and carers, the Young Scots DigiEye, and of course what Police Scotland provide as well. What I would like to just focus on, though, some of the broader issues with cyber resilience, because one of the things that very much strikes me now in any sort of aspect of life, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be in family, we're often sitting with these devices next to us, our mobile phones, and we check them and we recheck them, and we're constantly looking to see what's happening on Twitter, what's happening on Facebook, what's happening in other social media platforms. And we live a very distracted life, and it impacts upon our relationship with other people. It impacts upon our capacity to sleep. Do we really need our phone at our bedside? Now, I remember as a kid growing up, my mother refused to allow me to have a games console until I was 11 years old. And I remember I begged and begged and begged for Christmas that I could get one, because she was convinced that actually this sitting in front of the TV would not be a good idea at all, and I should be out playing. Now, I do not know what she would think if I was growing up at 5, 6 years old and I could have a handheld phone with 10 times the power of a PlayStation it was then, and access to this abundance of information. So there's also a question about how we relate, all of us, both children, young people and adults, to the internet and information it provides. And so cyber resilience skills are also about, for example, being able to identify fake news, misinformation, scams, and these skills are incredibly important as well. And I think all fundamentally that comes down to a sort of skill of critical thinking. It's incredibly important that when we think about cyber resilience, that's incorporated as well. With the time that's remaining, Presiding Officer, I would just say we also have to be looking to the future. As the excellent briefing from Bernardo's highlights, there are opportunities and risks. But as we move forward, the internet is going to become more and more a part of our life. The Internet of Things, augmented and virtual reality as well. And it will be for the children of today, and will be in the future working alongside robots and artificial intelligences in the workplace. And indeed, our bodies may indeed be cognitively enhanced with machines and computers. So I think when we look at this coming revolution of technology in these future decades, it's important to remember that our brains aren't changing. We're still subject to the same risks and dangers that we always have been. So I think it's just important with cyber resilience we have that much broader concept as well. And once again, I want to thank Gillian Martin for bringing this motion to the Chamber.